today. In the day's other news, the U.S. Supreme Court sidesteps definitive rulings on partisan redistricting. The justices ruled against Wisconsin Democrats who claimed Republicans gerrymandered state legislative districts. The court said the plaintiffs did not have legal standing to sue. A second ruling in a case from Maryland went against a preliminary challenge by Republicans over a district drawn by Democrats. The cases now both returned to lower courts. Democrats and Republicans jousted today over the report released last week on the FBI's probe of Hillary Clinton's emails. It happened at a Senate Judiciary hearing with the Justice Department's Inspector General and the FBI Director. Republican Chairman Chuck Grassley and Democrat Patrick Leahy traded arguments over anti-Trump text messages by FBI investigators.
If the Inspector General had not discovered their anti-Trump text, they would still be with Mueller's team. They would still be investigating the Trump campaign. Remember these facts every time you hear the press or my friends on the other side of the aisle claim that this report found no bias.
Irony doesn't begin to describe President Trump and his allies exploiting this report for partisan gain. Clearly, some of Mr. Strzok's text messages were inappropriate. But if the FBI were trying to throw the election to Hillary Clinton, it could not have done a worse job.
The FBI Director, Christopher Wray, said again that nothing in the report impugns the integrity of the Bureau as a whole. In Afghanistan, scores of peace marchers arrived in Kabul today after a nearly 40-day journey. Many of the activists traveled more than 300 miles by foot, demanding an end to 17 years of war. Their calls came a day after the Taliban rejected a government offer to extend a ceasefire. All of this on the heels of a violent weekend farther east. In Jalalabad, suicide bombings on Saturday and Sunday killed 55 people. The newly elected conservative president of Colombia is promising unity after a deeply polarizing election. 41-year-old Ivan Duque beat out Gustavo Petro, a leftist former guerrilla, in Sunday's runoff. Duque celebrated his victory last night in Bogota. He called again for changing a peace deal with Marxist rebels, but he also talked of conciliation.
Esta elección
This election is the opportunity we were waiting for, to turn the page of polarization, the page of grievances. I do not recognize enemies in Colombia. I will not govern with hatred, nor will I have hate against any Colombian. It is about looking to the future for the good of all Colombians.
Duque is the protege of Colombia's former president, Alvaro Uribe. He remains broadly popular, but is also blamed for thousands of civilian deaths during a campaign against the rebels in the early 2000s. Back in this country, the trade war of words with China showed no sign of abating. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo charged that Beijing's claims of openness are, quote, a joke. In a speech in Detroit, he said China practices predatory economics. The two nations have announced plans to impose steep tariffs on one another. Worries about trade tensions kept Wall Street on edge today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 103 points to close at 24,987. The Nasdaq added less than a point, and the S&P 500 slipped 5. The man who has been acting head of the Drug Enforcement Administration since October is retiring. Robert Patterson told his staff today that it has become increasingly challenging to serve in a fill-in capacity. Also today, President Trump nominated Kathleen Kraninger to run the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She is currently an associate director at the Office of Management and Budget. The World Health Organization now says that excessive video game playing qualifies as a mental health condition. The UN agency reported today on gaming disorder, believed to affect 2 to 3% of players. The agency said formally defining the problem will help families and will help health workers. Still to come on the NewsHour, the former head of Border Protection on the ongoing immigration debate. The South Korean view of President Trump's dealings with North Korea. Portland, Oregon tries to make amends for gentrification, and much more.